Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, Great.com talks with Karen Denise Bradley from the American Immigration Council, and she is going to teach us and educate us why it is so important to give immigrants a voice. Hello, Karen, and welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy and I'm excited to respond and answer any questions you have on your podcast, and hopefully shed some light on the important work that the American Immigration Council does for immigration lawyers and for the public in this country.
That's amazing. And thank you for being here once again. And yeah, we really can't wait to speak to you and just hear all about it. So guys, if you're new here and you like what we do, please click subscribe on your podcast app so you can keep up to date with everything that is going on with Great.com. So Karen, hello. And I want to start with just asking from somebody that is very uneducated on this subject, and I'm just coming in from a new person's point of view, like maybe many of our viewers today. So could you just share with us what is the American Immigration Council and what do you do?
The American Immigration Council was founded sometime in about 1987 when a group of immigration lawyers decided to join together to create a nonprofit organization that can teach problem solving, provide practice advisories to immigration lawyers, coordinate approaches with the council to basically litigate, stand on the forefront for advocacy, especially in light of the last 4 years. I mean, advocacy has always been first and foremost what we're taught as lawyers. And being a part of the council solidifies the role of advocates. And that's one of the things the council does for the lawyers, the immigration lawyers in the United States. They provide research, they provide tools to assist the lawyers to do our jobs better. They litigate cases before the courts, and they stand in line for every action that the government takes to ensure that they are accountable, that there's transparency, and they request documentation on a regular basis to ensure that the public is aware that government and government officials are held accountable for anything that happens that should not. Violations, constitutional violations, due process violations, having a lot of immigrants that were detained, what we believe were unreasonable detention. And then there was COVID that came into the mix that caused a lot of issues within the detention facilities. And there's always been a fight going on against pushing back against the government's efforts to, one, detain, deport, to keep people out of the United States. So our work is, the work for the council is extremely important. It's done on a chapter basis. So each state has a chapter of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and within that chapter, they choose an ambassador who represents those chapters in the different states that work with the council to make sure that the council gets the benefit of all the chapters that are involved.
That's incredible, and thank you for sharing that with us. That's really amazing. And again, just from somebody that is very unaware of this, and again, maybe some of our viewers, so could you talk to us more about these chapters?
Okay. The Ohio chapter, which I belong to, because I'm in Dayton, Ohio, and I represent our chapter on the council. One of the things that we're working on is a campaign through the council called Belonging Belongs with Us. Belonging begins with us. And that is a partnership that we're going to work with the council. Each chapter is going to find ways of presenting it to the public. The Belonging Begins with Us is really a marketing tool and a public service announcement that's going to be launched. It has already launched in different areas and on different platforms. We haven't launched it yet in Ohio because we want to get personal stories. We're trying to change the tone of the conversation about immigrants. You know, I'm proud to be an immigrant. I am an immigrant in this country, in America. I'm from Belize. But the thing that has changed over the last 4 years is how do you present immigrant as we know it to be, without the demonization and the negative implication that was created over the last 4 years. So we're trying to change the words. So instead of saying, this is Karen, she's an immigrant from Belize, we're going to say, this is Karen, she was born in Belize, she's an American citizen, and this is the work that she does. So we're just trying to change the tone. We're trying to change the wording a little bit so that it doesn't carry the same negative stigma that it has done over the last 4 years. The minute you say immigration or immigrant in this country over the last 4 years, it's signified some kind of hysteria. You know, people coming across the borders, they're running across the border, they're just coming to America, taking the jobs. And that is not what immigrants have done or are doing. These are the things that have been created by negative forces that have spread this kind of disinformation and untruths about immigrants.
Wow, that's so powerful, Karen. And yeah, I totally agree with you, because like you say, when people say immigrants, whether this is in America or even in the UK, as soon as that word immigrant comes about, people just automatically seem to just judge, right? But from my own experience, I believe that immigrants are what keeping, say, most countries running, right? Because, say, here in the UK, the NHS, if it wasn't for immigrants working in these places, hospitals, etc., they wouldn't be running. So what a question for you then, Karen, next would be, what are some of the impacts taking immigrants refuge in America?
Well, the council doubled down on litigation, aggressive litigation, and what's called Freedom of Information Act requests and strategies that push back on the government's restrictive and arbitrary policy shifts. You know, during the last 4 years, the Migrant Protection Protocol was one of the big issues where immigrants coming from different regions that have to get to the United States. You always have to get through Mexico to get into the United States for the most part. Well, except if you're coming in from Canada, but most immigrants don't come in through Canada. They come in through Mexico. The Migrant Protection Protocols was put in place to keep immigrants out of the United States and have them stay in Mexico while they wait for an asylum interview. You know, the United States, from the time it ratified the Treaty on Human Rights and Refugees, has never refused to admit someone who is seeking protection and safety in this country, whether it requires a vetting process at the border or it requires an asylum officer doing a credible fear interview. They have always, the United States, have always ensured that people seeking protection do get it here. Under the last administration, they were told you have to stay in Mexico. There's a remain in Mexico policy. So all these individuals had to remain there. There were families with young children. The conditions were inhumane, to say the least. So all of those issues have culminated in what has happened under this new administration. So you not only have lots of unaccompanied minors coming to the borders to come in, but this administration has now refused to allow asylum seekers into the United States as a family. So unaccompanied minors, a different ballgame. You know, so that's another issue. I'm not going to touch on that right away. But the bottom line with the council is aggressive litigation. That's some of the things that we've done. Litigation related to conditions at immigration detention facilities, which is awful. Litigation related to asylum seekers coming into the United States and to get rid of the migrant protection protocols, which is the remain in Mexico issue. Litigation related to should juvenile immigrants, underage immigrants be allowed or be provided access to lawyers through the courts, through the government, litigation related to the H-1B processing and the lottery system and the high wage. So there's been a host of litigation. There's a lot of cases still pending, but the council provides us with strategies and advisory on how to go after any of these policies within our states, because a lot of this stuff is federal. We have to go through our federal system within each state in order to get the results that we desire.
Wow, that's incredible, and it's such a big process, right? It's not just a simple someone's at the border, they're going to come in. There's a lot of obstacles they need to get through and go over, isn't there? By the sounds of it. So the next question then, I guess, Karen, would be, what is one of the biggest obstacles on, say, somebody, say, coming, for instance, use Mexico, for instance, to a young lad, say my age, 28 years old, wants to come from from Mexico to America, himself a job and a better life, a better future. What would be the biggest obstacle for that young man?
Well, the first obstacle would be he would probably not be able to apply for a visa, just a visitor's visa, to come to the United States. So what would he do next if the situation is dire, if the environmental conditions are changing, there's COVID, economic conditions are strained, financial difficulty? They will probably try to come through the border, come in through one of the illegal means, whether it's with a coyote or walking across. It's a very dangerous journey. We've seen that. We've learned that. We see the caravans coming in from Central America. The bottom line is the United States needs to do something different in the immigration policies that they've set. And the council, with the American Immigration Lawyers Association and the American Justice Council, will work to assist legislators in the government to change the immigration law in a way that makes it humane, such as deal with the people who are in the United States here and now. The people coming in will have a much more difficult time. And so you won't have the droves of people just coming across the border. You have to put a system in place that works. Work with who you have here. That's the biggest challenge, is hopefully the administration is able to get the votes it requires in the Congress. Everything in this Congress here, as you may both be aware of, is completely divided. There's nothing that anybody can come together in the middle. These are important enough issues that you would see bipartisan agreement, but you don't. Everything related to immigration has carried this controversial, politicized, negative, impact that, nobody wants to touch immigration, even though it's one of the things that is on the top of the agenda. That's not the top of the agenda, but that's one of the things at the top of the agenda that needs to be addressed. The immigration laws in the United States needs to be reformed in a way that will do what is necessary to take care of the people who are already in America, who have families, who have homes, who have jobs. Yeah, they don't have legal status to work, but that's what we need. That's the starting process. That's legislative action, and that's probably never going to happen. At least, I don't know, not during this presidency. I'd be surprised if it did, but I would be pleasantly surprised if it did pass.
Wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. And it just seems to me like it's almost like two opposite ends, or two ends of a magnet are coming together. Like nobody's agreeing; they're just repelling each other. And again, to me, it just seems like, say, the immigrants they need to come over because they're living in conditions that are not livable. So they're going to come whatever. So it seems like, why don't they get some sort of something in place to make sure it's safe for these people to come over? Because like you say, they have got family there, they have got jobs. Yeah, it might not be legal for them to work, but the next question, Karen, would be, do you think America, say, would be the place it is today without the immigrants that are there at the moment?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the vegetables that I eat, the fruits that I eat, they're picked by Mexican agricultural workers. Those are the people that work on the farms. Those are the people that work with the animals. Those are the people that work in the meat packing factories. Those are the people that debone chicken. These are the people who are exploited because they don't have any legal status, but they're working and their employers are satisfied with the work that they do. These people, the folks are dependable, they're reliable, but the employers, even though they many of the times want to help, They can't, there's nothing they can do. You know, we need we need something in place that will allow employers to apply for their workers legitimately. Something that can work, something that can support all of us. And this is where we are in the immigration system. We have a new president, we have a new administration. But again, as I said, everything in this country is so politically divided. The minute you say immigration, you know, you run into a lot of, you know, walls, especially with the other side of the coin. So there's some people that want immigration reform, and then there's the others who don't. And you have to figure out, you know, who's going to carry the majority to get it to work. So yeah, immigrants in this country have played a significant role in the economy, in development, socialization, cultural stuff. Everybody in this country came from some immigrant, you know, unless, you know, your family members were Native Americans. Everyone came from somewhere outside of the United States. But people forget that, because when they hear the word immigrant, they think, oh, all the people rushing across the border from Mexico or Honduras or Central America. I mean, you know, the whole region has gotten a very, very bad name as a result of how they've been characterized. They've been characterized by the previous president and the administration. You know, they're not terrorists. They're not coming here to do harm. They're coming here for a better life and to protect themselves and their families. So,
yeah, no, I totally agree, because from my personal point of view, most people almost match, say, immigrant with, like you just said, a terrorist. They think they're going to come in to do danger or take jobs is the biggest one, isn't it? Going to take jobs. Right. But I find immigrants come to take or to apply or to have the jobs that most of the natives don't actually want to do. So these jobs wouldn't get done. Like you say, stacking shelves, cleaning, cutting grass, I don't know, you name it, but they're doing the jobs that the natives don't want to do. So without these people, it wouldn't work, right?
Right. Without the non-citizens, yes, it would not work. We wouldn't have the way the economy has been built on their backs to do certain aspects of what we will not do. I mean, and I can tell you this personally, you know, a lot of young people, well, you know, looking for jobs over the summer. And my stepson and his friends, they finished their first year of college, and they thought they knew somebody who owned a strawberry farm, and they said, oh, we could have jobs there over the summer. And I said, are you sure you guys want to do these jobs? They're like, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to be outside. We're going to be working. It's going to be fun. Let me tell you, they lasted 2 days. They couldn't do it, literally could not do it. And they said they'd never understood how anybody else could do it. I said, exactly. That's why those jobs, Americans don't want them. It's hard work. And the folks who do it, they do it well. And they do it with pride. And so those are the people we do applaud in the quest for economic freedom, so to speak, in this country.
Yeah, and I totally agree with what you just said there about the younger generation. They think they're going to go in and do these jobs, but they can't physically do it because it is tough, hard work, right? So one final question, Karen, would be, what do you see the future to be like with the help of the American Immigration Council?
The future is always bright with the council, because the council will keep their foot on the necks of the government and the government officials to ensure that everything related to immigration and immigrants is done with the amount of due process that it requires, that there are no constitutional violations, that detention facilities are fit, humane places to keep individuals. The council right now is working to try to close down the family detention facilities, you know, the places where they keep women and children, men and their children together, not together, but in separate facilities. Dilley, Texas has the largest family detention facility. And I volunteered there at the end of 2018, just after the president suggested that the caravan of immigrants coming in were terrorists and criminals. We went there for a week to volunteer. These were women fleeing the worst violence you could imagine with their young kids. They didn't come here to terrorize the country. So the council will continue its work. And for that, we are ever so grateful. And we will do everything that we can to continue to support the council's efforts. And that means raising money by each chapter for the council, because they have to pay the lawyers who do all the litigation and everything. So we raise funds through our chapters for the council, and we're going to continue to do that. But the council will always be there for us. I know that.
Wow.
Be there for them.
That's incredible. And that's really, really amazing what you're doing, because like you say, these are people, right? These are families, they're kids, they're mothers, daughters, brothers, sisters, fathers. And these people are just coming, like you say, for a safer, better life. And it's really incredible what you guys are doing. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm sure everybody else that watches this today will say thank you too. So my final, go ahead.
Council, and to support the American Immigration Council. That is an important aspect of sort of this, opening it up to everyone. The council's work is vital to the work that we do as immigration lawyers to protect the immigrant community.
Totally agree. It's amazing, Karen. And so I just want to finish on then. Yeah. If people are watching this and really enjoy and they want to get involved and they want to help, how can they get involved or reach out or help in any way? What is the best way for them to do that? AmericanImmigrationCouncil.com. And that's it. www.AmericanImmigrationCouncil.com. And there is a place on there to donate if needed. Amazing. Thank you. So that's how we're going to wrap it up today. So guys, you heard it there. AmericanImmigrationCouncil.com. Reach out. And thank you for having us today. Thank you, Karen. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.